Good morning, everybody. I'm glad you're here today. I hope everybody had a really good week and that you're ready now to hear another Bible story from our Tiny Treats Bible. So let's review the story that we talked about last week. Last week, we talked about Abraham and Sarah and their baby, Isaac. And remember, God made a promise to Abraham that Abraham would have lots of relatives, grandkids and great-grandkids and great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandkids, as many kids as the stars. That's a lot. So that happened. God's promise was true, and the family grew and grew and grew and grew. And where our story begins today, they are living in the country of Egypt. So let's find out what happens to this tribe of people, this group of people who are Abraham's family. Let's find out what happens to them. God's tribe kept getting bigger. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was worried it was getting too big. He wanted to keep them under control, so he made them his slaves and forced them to work for him. Now, life was very different for God's people. They had been happy and free, but now they were tired and miserable and trapped. Nothing changed for a long, long time. But then in the middle of their sadness, the people remembered that they belonged to God and that God loved them and had promised to stay with them. So they called out to God and they asked God to rescue them, and God listened. Not far away, there lived a man called Moses. He was part of God's big family, but he was living in the middle of the wilderness away from everyone else. One day, Moses was looking after his sheep when he saw something strange. It was a bush on fire, but the bush wasn't burning up. It just kept on burning. As he got nearer, Moses heard a voice speaking to him. It was coming from the bush. "Moses," said the voice. "Yes," said Moses. "I am the God of your family, of Abraham and his son Isaac and Jacob. My people have asked for my help. They want to escape from Egypt, and I am going to rescue them. I want you to go tell Pharaoh to let them go." What do you think? Do you think Moses is going to be brave enough to go tell Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to let God's people go? Let's find out. "Oh, I can't do that," said Moses. "No way." Moses didn't think he was good enough to do the job, but God isn't afraid to use people who aren't perfect, and no one is perfect. "Don't worry," said God. "I'll be with you." So Moses trusted God and went to tell Pharaoh to let God's people go. Pharaoh was angry. He didn't want to lose all his slaves after all. "No," Pharaoh said. And he gave God's people even more work to do. But Pharaoh didn't know God or what God could do. "I will show Pharaoh that I am God," God told Moses, "and he will let my people go." And that's exactly what happened. Finally, after God showed Pharaoh that God is God, Pharaoh said, "Okay, please go," he told Moses. So Moses and God's people escaped from Egypt, just as God had promised. They were no longer slaves. They were free. They had called out to God, and God had rescued them. Isn't that a great story? You know, Moses thought he couldn't do something so great because he wasn't perfect. None of us are perfect. But you know what? God still loves us anyway. And God still asks us to do important things. And God helps us do them. Just like God helped Moses. God helps you and God helps me do the things that God asks us to do. What a wonderful promise. What a wonderful God we have. Will you close your eyes and bow your head and let's say a prayer together? God, thank you that you love us, that you ask us to do important things, that it's okay with you that we're not perfect. You love us anyway. You teach us how to follow you and how to be like you. Please help us to be like you this week, to follow you and to be kind and to be loving to our family and our friends and everyone that we meet. We love you and we thank you that you love us. Amen. Okay, everybody, thanks for coming to Sunday School today, and I will see you here next week, and we'll go to the next story in our Tiny Truths Bible. Bye, everybody.